I'd like to welcome Scott Cohen, who is the co-founder and VP of International at The Orchard. Now, The Orchard are a global digital music aggregator with operations in 28 territories, and they have a catalogue of over 1 million tracks. They also aggregate and deliver the music content to over 400 outlets, both mobile and online, on a global basis. It was established in 1997, so it must have been pretty close to being one of the first digital aggregators out there. As well as founding The Orchard, Scott also manages the Ravenettes, which is a well-known indie band that's been around the scene and building and doing an incredibly lot. So Scott, the continuing decline of the physical side of the business, digital sales are increasing year on year, and so times must be good in terms of the Orchard and digital music.
Yeah, I think the key for us is we've always been in the music business, and it's those companies that confuse themselves about being in the music business and thought they were in the CD business are really feeling the pains of the transition. We never had to go through that transition. We thought right from the beginning that digital was the future, and we started where we thought we would end up. So as we moved down this path, we find ourselves positioned really well to take advantage of the organic market growth, but also to really influence how that market develops.
Now, obviously, The Orchard was one of the first aggregators out there in the digital realm in 1997. But what, in your mind, makes, because it's a very crowded marketplace aggregation-wise, and it's continually getting more crowded, what do you think is The Orchard? What makes you different from your competitors?
I think we're different in a number of ways, and it starts with this belief that we should be on the cutting edge of what's happening. I mean, if you were talking about what an indie digital distributor was doing a few years ago, the real challenge was how do you get into all of these stores? Well, now that anyone can get into an iTunes store, that's not a challenge. What the challenge is there's 5 or 6 million songs in there. How do you get to the front of the store? How do you do the marketing and promotion? Now we're looking in a world where there's a lot of social networking, things like MySpace and YouTube. How do those impact on what's happening in the music space? What do you need to do there? Does it mean anything if you have 10,000 MySpace friends? Does that impact on how many units you're going to sell next week? Or are there other drivers in the industry?
Okay. Now sales reporting transparency in the digital realm is becoming, well, it has been an issue because there's been leakage on the mobile side. I'm not sure so much on the online side, but I know that that's been an issue for labels, whether they be major or independents, on the mobile side. From the Orchard's perspective, do you view reporting transparency, or do you believe that there's issues that need to be addressed in that respect?
I'm not exactly sure I understand the question.
Okay. Yeah. Shall I rephrase?
Yeah, rephrase.
Yeah. There have been issues of transparency or lack of in reporting and leakage issues. Does the Orchard believe that these reporting issues in the digital realm could see some improvement and what you get back from the people you deliver to in terms of reporting and transparency?
So not from what we report to our artists.
No.
How we're getting reported to. I think there's a lot of room for improvement in how we get reported to. Part of it is not just how the reports are, but how frequently they are. You know, to be accounted in a digital world, you know, monthly or quarterly is a little out of step with how the world works. You know, we want to work with either an operator or a DMS that's going to give us real-time, accurate reporting, as well as understanding who is purchasing the music. You know, we're not interested in necessarily direct consumer information. I don't care the person's name, but I would like some profiling that we certainly have the tools in place in the digital world, but all we get is one person downloaded song last month. And that just doesn't seem to jive with how the rest of the industry is working in an online connected environment.
Okay, that's good. Now, does the Orchard actually provide a dashboard where its clients, customers can actually view transactions occurring real time?
We've always provided a dashboard for our accounting. From day one, we were really transparent about showing what money came in, what money was paid out, and it's fairly complex as 400 different people are accounting in 400 different ways to us, and it's not even just a single way or a single product. It's a download. Is it an individual download, a download that was part of an album? Is it a stream? Was it part of a stream, part of a subscription service? Was there an ad-based revenue around it? So it's very complex. And part of our challenge is also being able to give a dashboard that's readable to our artists and labels, because although we give the granular information, sometimes people just want to know, how much did I earn from that album last month? How much did I earn last week? Or what territory did I earn it from? So we don't provide instantaneous information, because we have to bring it through our accounting department, who has to actually sift through all these reports we're getting. But it's continuously updated. So as we get information, we're processing it and putting it up as fast as we can, so that artists and labels can see what's happening in as close to real time as possible.
That's great. Now, obviously, the ISPs, especially in the UK, and more on a global level, and legislation or having a bundled cost, and the whole P2P ISP issue in the music industry, not necessarily at war. Now, obviously, the ISPs and labels are your partners in your business, but do you have any particular angle on that particular issue?
Well, my belief is that we could solve a lot of problems if the music industry picked up something in the neighborhood of $1 for every mobile operator and every ISP on a monthly basis. If we did that on a country by country and then on a larger global scale, we would have more money to divide up than the music business has ever had in a single year. We're talking in the neighborhood of $50 to $60 billion in a pie to divide up. And more importantly, what it does for the consumer side is it decriminalizes activity that to them seems completely normal. I mean, the way people navigate on the internet is they want unfettered access to all content.
Yes.
And this provides it in a very simplistic way of just saying, you know what, if you add a dollar or a pound on everybody's bill every month, then you get everything, and we won't sue you, we won't attack you, we won't come after you.
Now that's good. Now there are many new and rapidly evolving digital music models and business models appearing. What are your thoughts firstly on ad-funded models and then subscription models?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of ad-funded models coming out in the next few years, and I absolutely support it. It's the notion that you get free music in exchange for advertising revenue. With that said, I think there's a little too much hype surrounding it, because when you actually look at what's the market potential, it's not that big. I mean, the entire online advertising spend right now is only $30 billion a year. So what tiny sliver, what fractional percentage of that could be attributable to music? I mean, we're looking at, can we add tens of millions, at best case, a couple $100 million to the pie, but it's not $1 billion.
And that's on a global level.
That's
and
on a global.
Split between all rights holders, all aggregators, all labels.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with those models, but I think the way it's being touted now is it's some sort of panacea, that this is going to solve all of our problems, we'll make our money from ad revenue. And I just think this is another source of revenue, and probably a small source of revenue. However, I think we'll get a lot of money from brands. So maybe not this blanket, overall, here is some money for an advertisement, but you will see more deals being done with brand names and artists, whether it's individual artists or whole genres of music, that will pump some money into it.
Much like on the bigger levels with Robbie Williams, but that tie-up with T-Mobile was something that's never been seen before, because it involved every aspect of his career and business and merchandise. Now, what about subscription models?
I'm a huge fan of subscription models. I use Napster myself, which is I pay £15 a month and get unlimited access to download as much music as I want. And I think subscription models have gotten a bad name because they've been called rental models, when they're not. They're really subscription models. As long as I subscribe, I can use unlimited amounts of it. I don't have to return it. That's a rental model. You rent it and return it. I don't ever have to return it. The problem is not enough consumers are taking up these subscription models. For whatever reason, it just hasn't worked on the consumer offering. And in the near future, I don't see that market growing significantly more. There'll be, right now it's actually been flat the last year.
Right. And what about in terms of mobile though? Because that's being bundled on to your, people are used to paying on mobile and bundling, whether it be extra text and say that we've got the Omniphone music station offering and other ones coming to the fore. Do you think they're actually going to see traction, or are some of your catalog seeing traction within those services?
Yeah, I think you're going to start to see more and more of that happen. There's a couple of hurdles. One is it actually has to work on all the handsets. And it seems that the handsets it works on are the priciest ones, which are the ones that the teenagers who would be consuming that music don't have in their pockets. So I think we need to get to a place where it's ubiquitous across all handsets, the way, text messaging works on any phone, phone calls work on any phone, and a music subscription service really has to work on every phone.
And going further, delving deeper into the mobile element, I know last year 90% of global mobile subscriber growth during 2007 was in the emerging markets of Africa, India, the Far East and South America. What are the Orchard's plans going forward in terms of these key territories?
Well, we certainly are opening offices in those territories, from India to China. We have several offices in Africa. We also see these as key emerging markets, but the word emerging is also important because still the real revenues, the hard revenues, are coming from North America and Western Europe and Japan. However, I think you're going to see a leapfrog effect. You're going to see, across most of the continent of Africa, people going from no music business, no cassette, no CD, no digital downloads at a store, straight to a mobile consumption model. And I think that's pretty exciting. I think we're seeing that a bit in India, with people going from a cassette model to a mobile model, skipping the CD, skipping the store download model.
Okay, that's good. And finally, Scott, can you tell the Music Void about any soon-to-be released offerings or new deals in the pipeline?
Of course I can't. Now we're a public company, and I can't give you anything that we're about to do, other than to tell you that obviously we're going to be making some announcements with signing great labels, working with more services. We're always expanding, and I think maybe that's what you should get used to hearing is we're always expanding.
Okay, that's great. I'd like to thank you, Scott, and the Music Void. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great London calling.
Thank you.